Hey, it's been a while. It really has been. I guess I just thought I would give you guys an update on what's been going on and what you guys can expect from my channel. For those who may have missed it, I put up a post on my channel explaining to you guys the reason why I've been gone for quite some time. And it's because I had to put my dog down. It came very, very suddenly and very, very unexpectedly, and I'm still not over it. It's only been a few weeks, but then again, I'm not really sure. Sometimes I can't even keep track of the days. My dog Amigo, who you guys have seen in the videos occasionally, he developed seizures in November, about late November, and it was extremely scary. Um, it was about like at 1 o'clock in the morning, and fortunately, my husband and I, we were both up. And when it happened, I didn't know what to do. My husband didn't know what to do. I genuinely thought that we were losing him, and I had a panic attack because I didn't know what to do. Um, and that's when it dawned on me that he was having a seizure. And so, I called an emergency vet, and they said that, as long as it's not over 5 minutes, he's fine, which it wasn't, and he snapped out of it fairly fast. So, it was a very emotional experience, and we just decided to monitor it for about a week. Well, after a week, he ended up having three more in about 24 hours, and it was really, really concerning how fast it was picking up. So we decided that morning, because, it all happened during the nighttime when he was sleeping, we decided that we were going to take him to the vet, and the vet's thought was that he had epilepsy. So she started him on like a small dose of Keppra, which is a very common anti-seizure medications that they often give to dogs. So she prescribed him on the lowest dose, and I was optimistic about it. I really was. And for about 3 days, he was fine. And then on the fourth day, he started having what's called focal seizures, which is not like a full blown out seizure. It's just mostly like in the head or like facial muscles, I think. And he was having them almost every hour. And so I was freaking out. I called the vet, and they said that as long as it's not over a minute, it doesn't sound like an emergency. Continue the dosing as usual. So I took their advice, and, the whole day he was having like a seizure every 2 hours or so. Focal seizures, should I say. It was very distressing to see. And then the next day, it started happening again. And again, I called the vet. They said, look, just continue the medication. You can bring them in, but it doesn't sound like an emergency. The medication just needs time to kick in. Okay, fine. So during that nighttime, about 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning, we have a camera on his cage. And something told my husband to, I guess, look at the camera. So he's looking at it, and it seemed like, Amigo was, obviously he wasn't sleeping. And it seemed like he was having a focal seizure, but he wasn't snapping out of it. So the more I watched him, the more it seemed like something was wrong. And so that's when we went to go check up on him, and we started timing it. And sure enough, like, he wasn't snapping out of it. So we made the decision to take him to the ER. And by the time we got to the ER, he still hadn't snapped out of it. So they took him in, and they gave him medication. They got his seizure under control, and, it was a very emotional experience. I was kind of going in and out of like reality. I couldn't believe that it was happening, just because everything had happened so fast. And I didn't want to believe that our baby boy was going through something like this. And, the same thing for my husband. He couldn't believe that it was happening, because ever since we had gotten him, he was always healthy. And we fed him the right foods, and we took him out, and we gave him exercise, and he lived a fairly low stress life. And it was so sudden. So the vet finally met with us, and she told us, look, it sounds like it's epilepsy, and that they wanted to monitor him overnight just to see how he does on certain medications. That alone was like pushing up to $2,000. And we decided that we wanted to give it another go and bring him back home. So the vet upped his medication. And when we brought him home, he was very much out of it. He was on a lot of medications to kind of help calm his brain down. And so for about an hour or two, he was fine. And then once again, he started having a focal seizure and he just wasn't snapping out of it. So when he wasn't snapping out of it, and, we tried to give him another dose of the medication, waited about 30 minutes, and he wasn't snapping out of it, that's when we took him back to the ER. And so they decided that they were going to watch him overnight, and they would give us a call overnight if anything happened. And, the vet told us, no call is a good call. So obviously I was under a lot of anxiety. I was under a lot of stress. So was my husband. We couldn't stop worrying about him. And that night we got a call, and they said that he had a small focal seizure, so they were upping his medication again. Well, we ended up getting about 2 more calls in the middle of the night, and he still was not really responding to medication, so they decided to incorporate another medication to kind of help sedate him a little bit more, which I guess was kind of helping. Well, the next day, we actually had an appointment to see a neurologist. We had high hopes that by the morning, everything was probably going to be fine because we hadn't gotten another call. So we got there, and the worst is going through my mind. The entire time that this has been happening, I just can't help it. I was going in and out of being optimistic, but also expecting the worst. And, throughout this whole time, I was also I had joined a Facebook group for dogs that had seizures, and I was reading pet owners' experiences with it. And I was just nonstop going on the web and researching as much as I could. And that's the only thing that I could do in my free time that was comforting for me while all of this was happening. And I was hopeful. I really was hopeful. When we met with the neurologist, she had done an exam on him in the morning, and it turns out he had actually gone blind in both eyes, and she wasn't sure if it was from the medication or if it was something more serious like a tumor. And for them to find that out, though, if it was a tumor or something more serious, they would have to do an MRI, which was really expensive, or they would have to do a spinal tap, which was also really expensive. And we no longer had insurance for Amigo. We stopped it once he, was 2 years old. So she talked to us about our options, and that, he could try different medications, and that it was very common for dogs with epilepsy to be on at least 7 medications. But as far as the blindness, they would have to wait at least 2 weeks to see if it was the medications, just for it to wear off. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe that all of it was happening. I was just in a great deal of disbelief that all of this was happening, just because in a matter of weeks, it just went downhill so fast. And, my husband and I, we came to the heartbreaking decision to put Amigo down. He wasn't responding very well to medications. He had gone blind in both eyes. And the MRI wasn't even a guarantee that it was going to find anything. And, as tough as it was, I ultimately didn't want to see him suffer. And I think that's probably the only thing that gives me comfort, is knowing that we made the decision to help him be more at peace with himself. When he was having these seizures, he couldn't relax. Every time he fell asleep, he would wake up and he would have them. And despite medication, and despite us just even starting the lowest grade medication, it had just gone downhill so fast. And we had already spent over $2,000. So we made the heartbreaking decision to put him down, and it's been really tough. So I haven't really been in the mindset to record, and I hope you guys can understand. I didn't have Amigo for quite some time, but I knew years before I got Amigo that I was going to name Amigo, and I knew it was going to be a corgi. So I think that's the most heartbreaking part, is just that I do feel like I was robbed in a sense. I've done my best to kind of ease myself into looking at his pictures and watching videos of him, doing more things without him. It's just everything is a trigger. When I go for walks, when I record, when we watch movies, he was always there. And the house is just silent right now. It's just quiet without him. We're going through a lot of changes right now, and it unfortunately sucks that this is how the year had to end. It was the furthest from my mind, honestly. So I'm doing my best to process the grief. And I mean, I've had many pets before, and I do get very attached to my pets, as anyone does. But as I said before, with Amigo, I genuinely feel like I was robbed. And the only thing that I could probably say for anyone who is, either has a pet or is wanting a pet, is just to be in the moment with them and appreciate every opportunity that you have to be with them. And also when it comes to getting a pet, just do your best to get them from a reputable breeder. So I just wanted to make this video to kind of explain to you guys what happened, how I'm feeling. I do think about recording. It's just, it's very hard. It really is hard. I mean, I was listening to a song that was from Tormented Souls, and I love the song, but it made me cry just because it reminded me of the fact that Amigo is not here. And every single time I played a game or I finished a game and I would get up from my desk, he would greet me, and then I would take him outside, and that was just the routine. So right now, recording is still very hard to do. So I'm sorry if that's not what some of you guys want to hear. That's just the reality of losing a pet. I know at some point it's going to get easier, but right now it's still not easy for me. As far as live streaming goes, I'm not even trying to live stream. I'm not ready for it. I'm really not. So thank you so much for your understanding, and thank you most importantly for your patience. And I'll keep you guys updated.